The band Cinderella said it best. You don't know what you got till it's gone. And after a recent press conference where Ole Miss head football coach Lane Kiffin compared the Rebels' home atmosphere to a high school game, maybe the hotty-toddy faithful should heed that warning. Kiffin even went as far as to say he's tried to increase the excitement via social media going on 2 years, and you could literally feel the frustration in his voice. Now, it's already hard enough to win at this level with some of the best game day atmospheres in the country. And in the SEC, raucous crowds should be the norm and the standard. Recruits need to be captivated by the noise and energy level because the schools Ole Miss is recruiting against continue to raise the stakes when it comes to game day atmospheres. I know this, you know this, and Lane knows this. It is literally keeping up with the Joneses. Now, it's hard to fight with a hand tied behind your back, but it's even harder to recruit with one. Lane likes to have a good time and troll on occasion, but this was no joke. He was legitimately let down by what he's seen from the fan base so far. And while I'm sure this will lead to a crazy atmosphere this Saturday with a top 10 Kentucky Wildcats team coming to town, Kiffin having to go to these lengths to drum up excitement could have him looking for an off-ramp sooner than later. Now, there's always movement in coaching, and the next opportunity could be the best one if you feel hamstrung where you're at. Now, with places like Nebraska already open and Auburn seemingly coming open soon, there are destinations where crowd support isn't something you have to worry about. Now, would Kiffin bolt for a place like Auburn due to a lack of resources or advantages or home atmosphere? It's possible, and the more time he sits back at home games and doesn't have to yell to communicate, it becomes more probable. Now, Ole Miss never loses a party, but if they don't take that party inside the stadium, they may lose their coach. And a coach leaving an SEC team outside of Vanderbilt because the fans won't do their part is a black eye that's not so easily covered up. I'm going to bring in my co-host, former Michigan quarterback David Cohn, Blade Crane, former Western Colorado wide receiver. And guys, you know, Lane has a good time at these press conferences. He pokes fun at people. We've seen him troll on social media. But if you just go and listen to him and watch him and you followed Lane Kiffin enough, it looks like he is fed up with the atmospheres that he's getting. Now, has Ole Miss played the best home schedules there are of all time while he's been there? No, but you're relevant. You're relevant. You look at where Ole Miss is, you're undefeated. People are talking about you. With Lane there, they're always going to talk about you. But for him to have to come out and basically pull teeth to let Ole Miss fans know that the game day atmosphere isn't where he wants it tells a lot to me, Conan. And you know, I've been in the crowd or the side of Lane's been the Raiders head coach. He's been at USC. He's been at these big brand names. Maybe a place like Ole Miss where you win 8-9 games consistently, you're a hero forever, and maybe the pressure isn't as much. I was in the camp of, you know, maybe he kind of likes that. Maybe that's kind of his vibe. But after seeing this, you know, maybe he misses Broadway a little bit when it comes to being able to bring recruits in to your house to see the crazy atmosphere and not having to sell them on the atmosphere because they can see it. I could sense some general frustration from Lane.
I know that he's upset, but I'll tell you what, it's not just an Ole Miss problem. Okay, you're seeing it elsewhere around the country. And you know, when you talk about their non-conference schedule, I know that they play in the SEC West. I know the schedule is back heavy. But to me, you can't play Troy and Central Arkansas and Georgia Tech and Tulsa as your first 4 games and expect the stadium to be full, especially throughout the game. A lot of what he was talking about in the second half. But I'll make this point too. College football attendance writ large has been in decline for the 7th straight season. The lowest since 1981. And even when we were talking about the other day, like the upper bowl of the student section of the Big House is empty. Like when we were talking about Michigan's non-conference schedule. And so while big games like Texas and Alabama was certainly packed out the other day, and you're going to have these moments where the stadiums are completely full. I think that what people can sit at home and watch the game on TV and see every single angle and see slow motion, and they can be with their families. Fewer and fewer people are going to the game. So I know that Lane Kiffin's upset. I think if you're an Ole Miss fan, this is the best time to support your university. But I don't know. There's only a handful of places I think he could go where it would be a lot better every single week.
Yeah, you know, and I get attendances down with the advances we have in technology, and now you have people that are cutting cable and all these services that can give you about as close to a game day atmosphere as possible in your living room. It's just how bad do you want it, though? Like to me, there are places that Lane Kiffin could go coach, even if it is 7 to 10, which I think there's probably more out there, where you are going to get the atmospheres you have to be able to recruit at the level you need to be able to recruit at to be elite.
Let's name them real quick. Let's name a couple.
Auburn, Alabama.
Well, he's not. Well, okay, but I'm saying not that he could go to, not to just have better atmosphere. He's not going
Nebraska.
He's not going
Auburn.
Well, he's not going to Alabama, right? I mean, Nick Saban.
No, I don't think.
Tennessee's one, I think, right? Tennessee. He can't go back to Tennessee.
No, yeah. I thought you were talking about naming in general, but ones that.
No. I'm talking about him specifically.
Okay,
Where
all right.
He go?
All right, Nebraska.
Okay.
All right, Auburn. When it opens up. I mean, you look around the rest of the country, if there's any movement, maybe in another Pac-12 school and a big one, I don't think DeBoer's going to leave Washington anytime soon, or Dan Lanning's leaving Oregon. But when there's some movement out for a Pac-12 school, one of the, definitely not UCLA. I mean, they get basically 12 people out there. But more Big Ten-ish. I mean, Ryan Day, I don't see leaving Ohio State unless it's for the NFL, which if Eberflus doesn't work out for the Bears, I got a weird feeling Ryan Day is going to end up being the head coach of the Bears. I just think he's a guy that's going to make that transition. I mean, if Dabo were to go to Alabama, Clemson would be a spot.
That could be interesting because that's a school that would probably touch him, right? And a job that he might be interested in taking, and that would probably sell out more games than Ole Miss. But that was my point: is like, how many of those schools, which there's already only so few, how many of them are going to take a chance on Lane Kiffin, given like his history and that he hasn't already been to or coach? He's already been to Tennessee. He's already been to Southern Cal.
Well, yeah, but all it takes is one. That's the thing. Because I'm speaking more of it from a Ole Miss relevant standpoint, right? When has Ole Miss really been relevant? What Hugh Freeze was doing when he was rolling with them, obviously you get the problems with Laramie Tunsil and all those other guys. But to me, it's hard to sit there and complain about a guy not winning if it were to go off course or something like that, but you're not showing up in the stadium. I mean, right now is probably the best time to be an Ole Miss football fan outside of 1 year with Eli Manning and, the Hugh Freeze regime.
I think you're right.
But I don't think Lane would, you don't come out, Blaine, and say that, because this can be used negatively in recruiting for you. You can have somebody go sit in the living room and be like, oh, well, you're deciding between us and Ole Miss. Well, at least our head coach doesn't think our home atmosphere is like a high school game. Oh, you think I'm just negative recruiting you? Here, don't take my word for it. Here's what Lane actually said. So for him to come out and say that, it's somewhat risky. It does matter, and obviously it was bothering him.
Well, I think Lane's got to the point in his career where everything's calculated. So one of these head coaches, mostly everything they do is calculated. So you can guarantee one thing, is that game Saturday is going to be absolutely
It is, but did you risk too much for one game?
Somewhat, yeah. And I think Lane, I mean, this is the thing. Ole Miss will always have athletes. They'll always have, a good tailgate atmosphere. But, I mean, most of these kids care about where they're getting their Patagonia jacket more than going to the football games. I've been to plenty of Ole Miss games. Most of these
probably from Patagonia.
Most of the guys are. I mean, I'm not trying to sit here and be kind of an ass, but most of the guys are preppy. It's more about what fried I am, what we're doing this, what we're doing.
Isn't it like that though at a lot of?
No, no, it's
schools?
not. It's not at Auburn. It's not like that at LSU. It's not that like that at Mississippi State.
So there's not any preppy.
I would say more like that. It's more like that at Bama because it's mostly out of state people at Bama. But you go around. It's true. I lived there for 3 years. I mean, it's mostly out of staters. Bama takes in more out of staters than almost.
Yeah, but those atmospheres are nuts though.
Yeah, I mean, no, but not Ole Miss is not nuts.
What is the?
I'm talking about Alabama's.
No, I'm trying to put if there's a school who's somewhat relevant like that, because Ole Miss is big sorority, big fraternity, and the Bama's like that too. Most of the people who go to these two schools are for the sorority and frat life. That's what they do. Auburn, not that big. LSU, not that big. It's from Mississippi State, not that big. So it's kind of different. I can see Ole Miss saying this, but I still go back to kind of what you said, David. I mean, the first teams you play for the first 4 weeks aren't huge programs, but still, I mean, Auburn was getting drained, 31-10 at halftime, and they're still kids. I mean, out there, they left a little bit more, almost into the fourth quarter. But for Lane to come out and say this, it has to matter, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is the early onset of Lane Kiffin getting out of Ole Miss, but it would freak me out because he could have already gotten out on the LSU job. I know they ended up.
We were talking about Florida last year, Miami last year.
He's had the chance to get out, so I don't know why he would wait till now. Because if this is a thing, this isn't a new thing. Right, it has had to have been like this a couple years, which what he said he's been trying on social media. So it's kind of the timing's weird because he's had the chances to get out to better schools with better atmospheres.
Yeah, I just look at, again, even if, because I don't think this is something you look at Lane Kiffin, we talked about the Jeff Collins thing at Georgia Tech. Oh, I didn't want to beat him too bad because I know Jeff's probably getting fired, whatever. Typically when Lane does this, it's for some funny reaction or for us to say, hey, look what Lane Kiffin said or whatever. I can tell when he's serious, and he was serious as a heart attack. And I think this may be the first warning shot that this season, if it doesn't get better, and I do get that opportunity to leave, I might take it. And if I'm an Auburn booster or anybody that has any money at Auburn and I see something like that, maybe, and look, I know the angles, using Jimmy Sexton to leverage Ole Miss to say, you need to treat me better, pay me even more money to do this because the Crowns aren't that good. They're always calculated moves, but I legitimately think Lane has felt this way for a while, and it's been building up and building up and building up, and now he just let everybody know. So he put everybody on notice. But what comes with that is you better not go out there Saturday and lay an egg. We've seen Lane Kiffin do stuff like this before. You remember the Bama game last year?
Yeah.
You better get your popcorn ready.
Popcorn, yeah.
Why? Because y'all got y'all's ass buttered up is what ended up happening there. So, again, if you're going to do things like this, and Lane knows this, you better come out and play good on Saturday. Because if you don't, and the crowd's good, and they do their part, and you don't do yours, that's an egg on the face moment. But maybe Lane pushes his chips to the table in the middle sometime. But I like him speaking out.
Hey, if you enjoyed that clip, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's Crane & Company on YouTube for more great content.